Oh, oh, sorry. Didn't see you there. Welcome. I'm Rebeccawatson. If this is your first time on my channel, then I hope you enjoy this video and decide to subscribe. If you're a returning viewer, then you might notice something is a little different about me, and you're absolutely right. You see, I've recently been working on my inner child and exploring my inner world, not like that, and strengthening my intuition. And basically, I have opened up my third eye. And long story short, I no longer require glasses in order to see perfectly fine. And it's all thanks to this person on TikTok who taught me that glasses are just an eye crutch sold to me by big ophthalmology. And I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I can't see a thing. This whole thing is a scam.
What's the one thing that your optometrist doesn't want you to know about? The fact that you do not need glasses. That's right, you may have been told that you need glasses, but that's actually a lie. There are mental, emotional, physical, and even spiritual reasons why you may not be seeing, and I'm here to tell you that that can be healed. If you want to learn more, read the comments. You're listening to this, that think this is quackery, that think this is that say it's not possible. You can choose to stay blind. That's great. But I have done this on myself. I have worked with my clients. I have worked with family members. I have seen people take off their glasses and not need them anymore over and over and over again. And no, I'm not just saying take off your glasses and go drive at night. There is a process to healing your eyesight. I cut off the end part because I had a little rant about closed-mindedness, and that's okay. I don't need to speak to the deaf or show things to the blind. My favorite thing though is when people tell me that it's not possible to do something that I've already done, and over, it's repeatable, it's now proven. People are like, you can't do that. I'm like, no, but I am. They're like, well, it's not possible. I'm like, no, but I did do that. Oh, well, no, that can't happen. Oh, but it is. And that's the thing. Some people live with their eyes and their mind completely glued shut. And they're just, that's okay. That's their thing. Yet, it's not the truth.
That's Samantha Lotus, a holistic master coach, human optimization specialist, and business mentor for maverick female leaders. Or as I prefer to put it, a charismatic quack with thousands of views on her TikTok videos, in which not only does she tell you that you don't actually need corrective lenses, but obviously that you can learn to improve your eyesight naturally only by giving her $11 in order to attend her virtual vision healing masterclass.
All that to say, there is a masterclass on healing your vision in a holistic way. It's happening tomorrow. It's $11. I've upgraded my Zoom capacity so we can fit in all of you. I'm really excited to go deep, to blast your eyes and your mind wide open and to give you the goods.
I know all this thanks to Mallory DeMille, who's a very funny lady who exposes fake wellness influencers on TikTok and elsewhere, of which there are many, but Samantha Lotus may just be the platonic ideal. DeMille actually coughed up the $11 in order to see what Lotus had to say, and wow, did she have a lot of nothing. She had nothing to say. And amusingly, she even seems to admit that early on in her session with one slide reading metaphysical healing woo. Okay, so woo is literally what skeptics used to call idiotic pseudoscience. It's a derogatory term, like woo woo. And no, by the way, I have no idea what she means by now if where you need that open mind people. Oh, hold on. I guess that's an S. Is that an S? Now is where you need that open mind. Do you think she uses that font on purpose in order to make people think that their vision is really bad at the start of this journey? Anyway, In my intro to this video, I actually was quoting directly from Lotus's instruction manual. She told 125 people, which means that, by the way, she earned more than $1,000 for this one session, that something happened to their bodies that led them to believe they couldn't see. To fix this, the answer isn't glasses or corrective lenses, but radical self-inquiry. Oh, and some magic mushrooms wouldn't hurt. Her fix for bad eyesight actually isn't anything new, as you might realize immediately when she launches into the importance of affirmations like, "My eyes are windows to clarity."
If the paper turns clear, it's your window to weight gain. Bye-bye, everybody!
I am open to receiving intuitive insights and I see with love and joy. This is standard The Secret or law of attraction bullshit. It's the idea that you can manifest anything you'd like in your life simply by pretending that you already have it. In this case, it's eyesight, but the same principle can be applied to fame and fortune or other forms of health like cancer, which further suggests that the people who die of cancer really just failed themselves by not pretending hard enough that they were healthy. Yeah, I personally think it's one of the most disgusting philosophies in the wellness space. Lotus goes on to make really general be healthy suggestions like be less stressed and make good choices. Wow, thanks, coach. But here in suggestions like sun gazing or doing eye stretches, that's where we actually see the shadow of another long debunked pseudoscience, which is the Bates method. William Horatio Bates was a doctor and ophthalmologist who came up with his theory for fixing bad eyesight in the early 20th century, publishing his thoughts in 1920 in his book, Perfect Sight Without Glasses, which is in the public domain now if you'd like to check that out instead of giving Samantha Lotus $11. She's just rehashing a century-old quack whose ideas were immediately debunked by the entire medical industry of his time. While Bates's colleagues understood poor eyesight to be primarily the result of misshapen eyeballs and whatnot that required corrective lenses, Bates insisted that the cause was just strain and that glasses were just eye crutches, a phrase that I will be using constantly, by the way, for the rest of my life, because I think it's fantastic. So he tried to relieve that strain by, for instance, recommending patients shift their eyes back and forth or gaze into the sun. That's right. Sun gazing is literally just staring at the sun, like Donald Trump watching an eclipse. And yes, that is dangerous, and you should not do it. In fact, after Bates died and his quackery lived on, reprints of his book decided to just exclude the whole staring at the sun thing because it was so obviously dangerous. And apparently Samantha Lotus missed the memo on that. Bates died in 1931 after living an increasingly bizarre life in which he disappeared from New York City, reappeared 6 weeks later in a hospital in London where he was working but was originally admitted as a patient with amnesia. And then after his wife came out to collect him, 2 days later, he disappeared again and wasn't to be found for another 8 years when a colleague of his happened to stumble across him practicing medicine in North Dakota. By that point, Bates's wife had died, and so then he moved back to New York City to resume practicing medicine there. Also, he had an adult son who also disappeared in 1928. This all seems very strange to me, but when I thought about it, Agatha Christie pulled the same shit in 1926. So I guess that was just what was done back then, You disappear for a bit, you wait for your spouse to die or agree to a divorce, reappear in a hospital somewhere claiming no memory of what happened. It's just what's done. Anyway, unfortunately for all of us, Bates's wacky ideas didn't die with him. His true believers continued to spread the word. And in fact, a few years after his death, a new book was published based on his method, The Art of Seeing by Aldous Huxley. Yes, that Aldous Huxley, the Brave New World guy. Yes, this very talented writer was also super into something that was obviously a pseudoscientific scam, But, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was super into psychics around the same time. And, so I guess, again, that's just what people did back then. They wrote classic novels that would be beloved for centuries after, and they also had really weird and kind of stupid hobbies. Also, in order to leave their spouses, they would fake amnesia and end up in a hospital. It's just what was done. Anyway, Huxley did suffer from extremely impaired vision ever since he was a teenager, and out of desperation, he tried the Bates method, which he said worked for him. That led him to write an entire book on the topic. Huxley was obviously a great writer and very well respected, and so this book actually helped the Bates method go on through the decades. In the 1950s, Martin Gardner had to address it in his book, Fads and Fallacies in the Name of Science. Still an excellent book and obviously still relevant. This is where I originally learned about the Bates method and also learned about Bates's weird amnesia stuff. Gardner describes several reasons for why this method has endured over the decades despite having absolutely no basis in reality. For instance, there are a number of reasons why a person's eyesight might naturally improve regardless of what magical thoughts they may be thinking or what eyeball stretches they might be doing. For instance, cataracts can temporarily improve your vision, or an astigmatism might change for the better. But he points out that the most important factor is that seeing is deeply involved with one's mental attitude. Given the right frame of mind, which may be induced by faith in any kind of treatment, a person with even a large visual error may be able to toss away his glasses and get along comfortably. Bates himself wrote about how some persons found their vision much improved after they had been given glasses which were almost plain glass. What he did not realize was the possibility that his own system might operate along similar lines. He goes on to describe a case in which an old woman had glaucoma, but after just a few minutes of the Bates palming technique, where you put the palms over your eyes, she was able to read the top of an eye chart. So how did that miracle happen? Gardner writes, the answer is suggested in the next sentences. She was very happy and wanted to talk, which I encouraged her to do. She said she was living in a small furnished room and had no one to look after her. So this lady was sad and lonely and likely exaggerating how bad her vision was at the start and how improved it became by the end. This is something we see over and over again, especially with victims of medical scammers. They just want some kind of hope. They want some friendly person to listen to their problems and take them seriously. If our healthcare system were better, or if we had better support for our elderly and disabled and marginalized people, then these people would be more likely to get science-based medical treatment instead of going to charlatans for empty promises. So instead, they end up trusting quacks. And many of these people, they've got conditions like glaucoma that are treatable, but when left untreated, it becomes untreatable blindness. Before I move on, let me just describe one other anecdote from Fads and Fallacies that I personally found really interesting. In 1952, Bennett Cerf wrote for the Saturday Review. He described a speech that Aldous Huxley gave at a Hollywood banquet, during which Huxley wore no glasses and evidently experienced no difficulty in reading the paper he had planted on the lectern. Had the exercises really given him normal vision? I, along with 1,200 other guests, watched with astonishment while he rattled glibly on. Then suddenly he faltered, and the disturbing truth became obvious. He wasn't reading his address at all. He had learned it by heart. To refresh his memory, he brought the paper closer and closer to his eyes. When it was only an inch or so away, he still couldn't read it and had to fish for a magnifying glass in his pocket to make the typing visible to him. It was an agonizing moment. Yikes. More like Big Aldous Huxley. Am I right? Sorry. I actually feel really bad for him there. I had to say that. Gardner's thorough explanation of the Bates method was first published in the 1950s, but of course, The Bates method continued to be republicized by true believers up until even 2011, when Dover published Better Vision Now, a book that remains in publication today. James Randi mentioned its initial publishing in his weekly newsletter. He added, "I recall that my own father was quite captured by this notion because he was a fan of health guru Bernard McFadden, a then popular author and authority who endorsed the dippy idea. The Bates system of eye exercises urged readers to throw away their glasses, and my dad did just that. He wrecked his car shortly thereafter. He promptly threw away the book and ordered new glasses." Did that happen? I mean, probably not. But in true Randi fashion, it's a very good anecdote. And so here we are in 2023, and the Bates method is back alive and well with a new veneer of wellness influencer chic. Oh, and a bonus scam. DeMille points out that Samantha Lotus's $11 presentation slowly became more and more focused on essential oils, specifically doTERRA, a multi-level marketing company that I have talked about in the past. That's right, she recommends rubbing essential oils around your eyes in order to improve them, which, by the way, you should absolutely not do. Lotus specifically recommends the Immortelle oil for eye strengthening, which doTERRA, when it was pointed out to them on Twitter, rushed to copy and paste a response to, stating that their products cannot be used or marketed as capable of preventing, treating, or curing any disease or symptoms associated with the disease, because they know if they don't do that, the FDA will ruin them. These pyramid scheme type companies rely upon a network of representatives who quietly tell each other and potential customers that their products are magical cure-alls, all while the larger corporation simply states the required legalese while tacitly allowing the representatives to continue saying whatever they want. In fact, DeMille points out that she previously reported Lotus back in December for claiming doTERRA oils could treat COVID, and the company clearly did nothing about that, nor have they mentioned it again. DeMille says that she has heard from Lotus, who appears to have decided that the correct path forward from here is harassing her critic on various social media networks, including LinkedIn, which is almost impressive. And of course, the story lands where these stories always land, Lotus threatening to involve her lawyers. I'm sure DeMille is terrified. If someone at 1-800-Lawyers eventually picks up on Lotus's call, you can be sure that I'll be back with an update and a link to a GoFundMe. In the meanwhile, follow DeMille over on TikTok if that's your thing, and please continue to not stare directly at the sun in order to treat your vision problems. Like, let's be honest, glasses are just sexier anyway. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.